Alright, here for match number 1 on the draw. 4 lands, just ain't gonna cut it on 6. This hand's fairly middling, but I do think we try it. We do at least have 12 points of burn, so. Against one of the variants of Tron, kind of hard to say which one exactly. Bolt go. Eldrazi Tron, okay. Been a minute since I've played against Eldrazi Tron, so. Green Tron burns quite heavily favored. Against Eldrazi Tron, a little bit less so. I'm either getting a Reality Smasher or Thought-Knot Seared here. Oh, that's just... well... Mm-hmm. Need a little bit of help off the top here, so going to end up being 1 short here. I guess I'll fetch basic, see if we flip Skullcrack. Yeah, we were literally like 1 short here. So, Goblin God deal 4. We can burn them down to 1. But I guess we attack. Get a little bit more information. Guess we're not technically dead yet. They go to 6. If we top deck something, we might have a prayer. As long as they don't have another castable Eldrazi. Go to 6. Can't beat that, unfortunately. So the Eldrazi deck usually has some amount of chalices. I guess I'm fine bringing those in and either Firecraft or Roiling Vortex. Vortex isn't great, but at least it's something, I guess. This was always a heavily play draw dependent matchup. And ironically, like if our opponent had like a number of other draws, we would have actually won that game, but actually, if I recall correctly, are 2 skull cracks in this list or 1? 2 skull cracks. So we just have at least something to draw to with that. Problem may have been, though, is if I hadn't have cracked that land, we might have actually been able to empty our hand before. Sure. One's going to have turn 3 Tron, which is... Do I let them have turn 3 Tron? Think... So we revealed power plants. We don't actually know what they have access to. Matter Shaper is kind of whatever. Hold up Bolt and play with fire here. So alternatively, we could have blown up their expedition map, but Chalice on 1. Looking for a land here. Yeah, Chalice on the draw is just multiple Matter Shapers in a row. Okay. Don't think there's anything here that punishes us for waiting. Sure. Boop. Now, these would actually have been riskier if our opponent had 1 more mana because of Warping Whale. Alright, on the draw, I think I'm much more interested in the 3rd smash over the 4th Vortex. I guess we could theoretically bring in Deflecting Palm. I really don't like playing a reactive game against Eldrazi Tron. Try it. It's not the best of hands against them keeping on 7, but at least it's not particularly vulnerable to Chalice. Okay, now it's a little bit more vulnerable. If they have Dismember or something, it's kind of whatever. Eldrazi Temple, or do they have Chalice? Looks like Chalice. whole parade of thunk nuts. Like, I like how they like sit there and think. It's like, you really don't honestly have that much to think about. So, goodbye, Boros Charm. Never getting the block yet. Force them to play the other Thought Knots here. Something to block. Goodbye, Roiling Vortex. Triple Thought Knots here. Nope. So, currently lethal exactly. And then we're drawing dead. Okay. Game 1 was kind of the make or break game, unfortunately, it looks like. Alright, match 2. And we'll keep this hand. Play with Fire seems to love to show up. Currently 14 points of burn in hand. Go ahead. Okay, burn mirror. I think we're interested in drawing action still at this point. Vortex would also kind of be funny. Okay, so opponent could easily have something like Lightning Helix here, so maybe it's incorrect to just unload our hand, but do we even have anything for the burn mirror? Guess we have 3 Searing Bloods and 2 D-Palms. Maybe just 2 Searing Bloods, 2 D-Palms. Depending on if we're on the play or the draw. Feels like an Eidolon. Nope, Goblin God. Interesting choice to suspend Riftbolt on one. Hold up Bolt here. Okay, well, the Goblin guy on top. Okay. Alright, so let's do some quick math. Fetch land or Sunbaked Canyon, go to 5. Take 2, take 2. Deal 2, deal 2, deal 3. So, math checks out. There are some random free spells in Modern that could potentially do something here, but skill crack. GG. Alright, on the draw, take these 4 out, bring in these 4, and call it a day. Probably should have brought in Deflecting Palm against Eldrazi Tron, but not a huge fan of playing the wait back and waiting game against that deck. Especially since, you know, they have Karn, they have Chalice, they have Thought Not Seer. So. Alright. Finally found a matchup where somebody has. Yeah, Sandy is quite decent. Yep, Goblin Guide's gonna get in. Lightning Helix. It's a pretty good one to have access to. Ironically, our one copy of Lightning Helix reveals Arid Mesa, so we give him a free card. All. Okay. What creature will you only follow up with? Sure. We're literally going to be marrying each other for a couple turns, except they're on the play, so I don't know that necessarily favors us. Skewer the critics, sure. Alright, fetch basic mountain. Searing Blaze, your Goblin Guide. Like, sure, we could wait here, but doesn't really feel worth it. Still up Lightning Helix. Feels like they're holding up Skill Crack, but We got 8. We have 3 cards in hand, so we could kind of easily die here. Sure. Down to 6. So clearly whatever in their hand isn't currently lethal, so I think if they had something lethal in hand, they just would have killed us last turn, so do they draw lethal? Indeed they did. Alright. On to game 3. So actually I have the Eidolons in and not the Skull Cracks. Interesting. It was definitely not my intention, but can't keep the 1-laner. It's just too big of a risk. Alright, can certainly keep this hand. Also mulligans to 6. I think we're just going to fetch basic mountain for the moment. Give us a turn or two to the top deck a inspiring vantage rather than going the fetch shock route immediately. Bolt. Nope, Swizzle Spear themselves. Okay, that enables us to just fetch basic mountain here. Go ahead and Stern Blaze this. Okay, opponent. Okay, I'm not sure why they tanked on that for so long. Suspend the Rift Bolts. Oh boy. Sure. Never bring this card in the mirror match. Just don't. If you have Core Firewalker, by all means do, but this card is just take extra damage for no good reason, basically. Okay, sure. Just playing out the land here. Mm-hmm. Still literally no reason to make a move right now. I think I'm very okay with deflecting palming this. Probably should have bolted them while they were low. Really kind of sucks. All right. Yeah, we should have bolted while they were low, because then they would have had, in order to cast something like Lightning Helix, they would have had to take damage and then just died. So it was definitely a punt on my part. All right, match 3, draw. Let's see hand could potentially be a little painful, but otherwise it's a pretty solid hand. Goblin Guide into reasonable spells. Opponent mulliganing. Okay. So likely up against Fish. Don't really know if Fish plays Spreading Seas or anything anymore, so. Sure. Really kind of hate this card. Okay. Sveloon. Indeed. Land would be nice here. Fetch land even better. Please stop handing them lands. Okay. This one's killing Sveloon here, since they're drawing the Spittoon. One goes to 11. This Eel Merfolk, not Trickster, Harbinger of the Tides. Surprised they didn't attack with Mutavault. I suspect this is what they drew off of Sveloon, because I think they probably would have played that main phase. Okay. Mm-hmm. They block with Atlantis, or do they? Could kill Svalin here, but I think we're going to be hard pressed to race them anyway. We almost need to top deck like Boros Charm this turn, or I don't even know. Helix. Opponent missed out on 2 points of damage here. Alright, let's see if we can even draw anything. Don't see how we survive this, but we at least have to quasi give them the opportunity to screw up, right? Mm-hmm. We'll draw that game. Order. Okay. So okay, so certain bloods are reasonable. Schools of Firecraft's probably decent. Cinder Smashes might be okay. Eidolon and Vortex and Skullcrack are all kind of trash in this matchup. So what's the remaining card? I suppose this hand's fine, but man, it's a lot of damage to us. Plays nothing on one. Guess they theoretically could have Spell Pierce here. Nope. We do need to draw lands, though. Fetch land would be best. Make do with that, I guess. Hopefully they're dumb enough to flash something in here like Trickster. Merfolk's like a night and day deck when it comes to Ether Vial early versus no Ether Vial. Alright, if we survive to next turn, we should have the win. Actually, let's go ahead and play Swizzle Spear. I suspected this was what was in their hand, which it ultimately doesn't matter. So, did that more to get a bit of information on the way out. I think ironically, or not really ironically, but I think every single game so far this league has been won by the player on the play. Yeah, this hand is perfectly reasonable. Turn one, Ether Vial. Guess theoretically they could have Stern Scolding too. Nope, nothing. Okay. Trickster, sure, whatever. Alright, that's certainly a card. Presumably tapping this one down. I'm gonna trade for a force at some point, so. has another Svelun, sure. Sure. Decent chance this is a Voldaren Hexcatcher, but I think I'm still supposed to block. Just nothing. Okay. The other opponent's got a Cavernous Souls in hand. The fact that they have an auto pass turn is kind of concerning, but taking a hit for at least 5. If they have a Lord, 7. Okay, that was likely their draw for the turn. Okay, what would it take for us to win here? Not that, unfortunately. That might buy us a turn. No, actually, we're still dead on board, so it is what it is. Oh, sure. Let's just add another Lord to the mix. Alright, opponent finally showed up. Can't keep the one lander. Guess we're trying the one lander whether we want to or not now. Okay, flooded strand. Hammer. Guess we're supposed to keep the Searing Blaze. Looks like we might be up against the island of misfit toys in this league. Strongly suspect my opponent's double queuing. Gee, big fat hammer confirmed. Really need to draw a second land, have a prayer this game, but land. Land, for the love of land, please. I guess we could get lucky and maybe our opponent could draw all of their hammers. That'd be nice. Make a dude. I guess if they have okay, it doesn't look like they in fact have Bristol Paladin at least. Okay, I do another land. Go 6. If they don't have Force Indication, the fact that they had to fetch Shock there. I guess it really doesn't matter. If they have Solitude in their deck, we're going to lose anyway, so. No, 2 of their cards, 3 of their cards in hand are Hammer, Hammer, Hallowed Fountain. So they would need specifically white card Solitude to survive here. If we pick up the win here, this will be the first time in 11 games this league that somebody on the draw has won a game. And we've had several games come down to our opponents having or us having exactly 1 life, so it's been something. Bring these in. Roiling Vortex out. Eidolon out. Opponent has Surge in their deck. Most likely, possibly things like Spell Pierce. Searing Blood's interesting, but has to have very specific timing to be even considerable, I guess. So it may seem weird, but the reason I'm boarding out Riftbolt here is it's like the card that most gets telegraphed for Surge of Salvation, whereas every other card, for the most part, doesn't get telegraphed per se. I mean, obviously, Deflecting Palm kind of does, but this is not the best of hands. So we have 12 points of burn, 3 lands. We'll keep it. Like I said, it's a very mediocre hand, especially on the draw, but I think it's a hand that we can at least work with. So. Question is, do I kill that Giver of Runes? Play land and pass. Problem is, if we let them untap, they could have Surge of Salvation here. So. Let them get like Caldera or something. Oh, they go for the typically expected line. At least it's not Mother of Runes. It can't give itself protection, so. Alright, crash there. Let's go and deal with Giver of Runes. Immediately deal with this. So we did lose 2 damage, so that will be something to note here. Currently have 10 points of burn in hand. So what we're probably going to want to do, or the best card to draw here would probably be one of our 2 copies of Deflecting Palm. That way if our opponent goes for like floats a mana or activates Ink Moth, gets a hammer with Urza's Saga, targets Inkmoth Nexus, even if we go to react, they get to equip another hammer and then kill us. So we really do need a little bit of help here. I mean, we have Wear Terrors, we have Smashes. There's a couple different things we could potentially... But even Smash doesn't really get us out of the situation. I think Wear Terror would be the best. Like a Fuse Wear Terror, blow up Urza's Saga, blow up Sigarda's Aid. So, we have several good draws, mostly our sideboard cards. Bolt also wouldn't be a terrible draw. Searing Blood. Sitting in our sideboard. It's hard to tell if our opponent now is double queuing or if they're also having connection issues like we just did, so... Opponent would have to get pretty greedy here to lose, so... Because we know they have a hammer in hand from Stoneforge earlier. So, we are very likely dead here. Yep. Mm-hmm. With our opponent. Maybe I shouldn't be putting the idea of deflecting Palm in their head, but keep this one. This is 3, 5, 9, 12. 16 points of burn in hand currently. So once again, for those of you who maybe didn't pay attention why I didn't take any game actions against my opponent, is we knew we were dead. I think we just have to kind of ignore what they've got going on and try to kill them. Would have been possible. We were supposed to Searing Blaze here, but oh wow. Mm-hmm. Select fire and Vec. Thanks, dear. I love you. Okay. Could very easily die here if they have Sigarda's Aid plus Hammer. So. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the Hammer matchup, is sometimes you just kind of have to play your cards and hope your opponent can't kill you. So. We have no reason to take any game actions here. Like, if our opponent's sitting here with this much open mana and literally not doing anything, there's a decent chance they're chilling on Surge of Salvation or something along those lines. Possibly even Reprieve. So. Mm-hmm. That is certainly a card that could get the fireworks going here. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure. Do you have 2 more Surges of Salvation, or equivalent thereof? Nice. Alright, so we are back for match 5. Match 4 of 5 on the draw. So, haven't been having the best of luck with play draw. I guess our opponent's just chilling on Thoughtseize there. Oh no, they are I think we might be up against Coffers or Fieldless. One could easily have Bowmasters here, but I do think we gotta try to play into it a little bit. Yep, Field of Ruin. Comes Bowmasters, shocker. Nope, Fatal Push. You have double Fatal Push? Defile. Okay. Well, ain't that some bull crap? Don't think we're being shouldered from 20 there. And try it. Gotta play a land there first, friend. Might be some reason to bring in Smash. Well, at least this way, if they kill it, they take damage, so... Six. Couple coffers, sure. Okay, they can't escape Cling to Dust, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Your card would be a card you'd be interested in drawing. Or playing, I mean. Pretty sure this just means we're dead, but... Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're just gonna lose to this doggone cling to dust. I mean... draw like specifically Bolt here or something. Yep, that's just kind of how burn leagues go lately anymore, unfortunately. So I wish I had some type of optimistic hope for burn players everywhere. Obviously, there's been a few people who have had some decent runs with burn lately. The list I was taking a look at was by Argent God. I do believe, if I am not mistaken, that they are running whose list is it here? Twitter.com. Looks like they're running something similar to Sodek's list. Not quite the exact card for card, but it's almost in some ways painful to go through a burn league here. Like, we played 5 matches. We played against Coffers, we played against Hammer, we played against Merfolk, we played against Eldrazi Tron, and we played against the Burn Mirror. So Eldrazi Tron was always a tricky matchup when it was a more widely played deck. Play draw was very dependent, and our opponent had pretty reasonable draws. We had pretty reasonable draws too, and came within very close to winning game 1 even on the draw, so is what it is. Merfolk, very similar, usually very play draw dependent matchup. There were some lines that we took that maybe we could have taken other lines and maybe eked out another point of burn or two maybe to win the game, but the Burn Mirror was very close. The Hammer matchup was close. We got lucky to steal game 1. And then Coffers, unfortunately, we kind of ran into some of our opponent's better tools in the matchup, which is basically Cling to Dust. I don't even know how many copies of Cling to Dust the Coffers runs currently. But just a repeatable source of life gain, life gain, life gain, life gain. Even though they're a kind of a slow, mopey, mid-range deck, a deck that we should kind of beat up on, just kind of shows that shoulder that, just incidental hate against decks like Burn. As far as this list, I don't hate it. The one change I made from Argent Fire's or Argent God's list was I cut the copy of Shard Volley for a copy of Play with Fire. I just absolutely hate Shard Volley, and I refuse to enter it into a deck. And Play with Fire, it's fine. It gives us a 5th way to deal with something like Ragavan on the draw. Has a little bit of upside with a Scry. And it does help lower our curve a little bit, so it's not terrible. Rest of the deck, pretty stock Burn. We went with a 2-2 split on Vortex and Eidolon. Some people are still on 4 Vortex, some people are still on 4 Eidolon. I think it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other right now. Neither are particularly great. They both are reasonable against Cascade. Sideboard, 2 additional copies of Whirling Vortex kind of round out your anti-Cascade stuff. Searing Blood. I've not been a big proponent of this card in the past, and I think against the normal meta, if you're facing tier stuff like I think the only two tier decks that you really want Searing Blood against are Yawgmoth and Murktide, maybe. Deflecting Palm, it was fine. I mean, got to play a little bit of mind games with our opponent on Hammer. It bailed us. It kind of helped us against Burn, which, then again, about any Burn spell at that point would have done fine. Smash and Wear Tear, maybe a little heavy on those, but I mean, the Hammer matchups and then those kind of style decks just aren't great matchups right now anyway. So I guess it doesn't hurt to put extra cards in your sideboard for that. And then Exquisite Firecraft, obviously bailed us out against Merfolk one game, and I think that's really the only one we boarded in against. It's the only blue deck we played against. So, yeah, I mean, looking at Burn, Andrea Mengucci didn't even put Burn in his top 15 list this month. He had a rough run with the deck. I think he was 1-4. Our last 2 weeks that we actually played Burn, we've gone 2-3 both leagues. In addition to, I think, a 2-3 league with Burn. Is it a 2-3 or 1-4 in like a actual competitive league? So small sample size, but doesn't feel the best right now. I mean, here's kind of, we might be in the Modern Horizons 3 waiting room, and I don't know that Burn's going to get a whole lot out of a set like that. I mean, what cards have we gotten out of, I guess we've gotten, Zendikar Rising was, we got Vortex. We basically got some Mid Canyon. So maybe we'll get another quality 1 drop that's more burn friendly. Maybe we'll get, something like a weaker version of Price of Progress or Fire Blast. I could see like a 1 mana or 2 in a red, deal 3 damage to target, any target, alternative cost, sacrifice a mountain. I could easily see that being the kind of alternative to, there looks like there's going to be a cycle of sacrifice stuff. There's a cultivate variant of it floating around. Maybe it's, pay 3 mana for 3 damage to any target, or sacrifice a creature. I mean, a couple different things that could pop up, but here's hoping Modern Horizons 3 shake up the modern format, because I think the format's a little stale right now. But anyways, if you like Burn content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hope to see you for next week's video.